This fire uncovered a clear truth, which is we have too many short-term rentals owned by too many individuals on the mainland. And our people deserve housing here. So I would like them to sell to local owners or at least rent long-term to our people so that we can get through these kind of crises.
Hawaii's Governor Josh Green and other lawmakers in the state are finally starting to take a stand in regard to the short-term rentals in Hawaii and in the wake of the devastating fire that essentially leveled the city of Lahaina last August. Now, the fire destroyed an insane amount of housing. In fact, 6,200 families in Maui were left without homes following the fire. In the downtown area of Lahaina, the fire destroyed almost all single-family homes and apartments. Clearly, this is a serious and grave crisis. The area is the core of Lahaina's residential housing district. Now, of the remaining housing, 25% of the housing total in Lahaina happens to be short-term rentals and weren't hit as drastically. And so if you are left homeless as a result of the fire and you need to rent and your only option is a short-term rental, understandably, that's gonna cost even more than renting an apartment for the long term. So an analysis by the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization found a relatively low 7.5% of units downtown were vacation rentals as of February of 2023. Lahaina neighborhoods spared by the fire have a much higher ratio of vacation rentals. About half the housing in Napili, about 7 miles north of the burn zone, is short-term rentals. And guys, understand that Hawaii has been a vacation destination. There are a ton of high rises that consist of timeshares, short-term rentals, and the idea made sense when there wasn't a housing shortage and crisis that was then exacerbated further due to that devastating fire that occurred in Lahaina. And so people are leaving Hawaii altogether because of this crisis and because of how unaffordable it is to live there. For instance, according to some residents, the monthly rent for a short-term rental can jump anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Who can afford that? And this has caused an estimated 1,500 households, or a quarter of those who lost their homes in Maui, to leave the state entirely. People are moving by the droves because there is no housing, according to a Maui council member. She said it's taken too long for officials to regulate the short-term rental industry, which has created this challenging fight with increasingly powerful interests. And so there's pushback, of course, from those who are in favor of maintaining the short-term rentals. They argue, well, the short-term rentals bring in tourism and that helps to stimulate the economy. But the people who have lost their homes in Lahaina are the people who work within the tourism industry. And if they can't live in the area they work in, then the tourism industry is obviously gonna suffer from that. The business community is gonna suffer from that. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'll talk about what local lawmakers are planning to do in just a moment. But Cenk, why don't you jump in?
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. I'm a tiny bit biased here. I've done an Airbnb in Maui a million years ago and it was a tiny little thing, but hey, I did it. And so do I wanna go to Hawaii and maybe do a short-term rental or an Airbnb or something along those lines? Yes. Do I wanna do that in some of the cities that have banned it here in LA? Yes. Does that mean that I should get my way? No. So we have to put our biases aside. Yeah, of course, it's a beautiful place. We love that Hawaii is part of America. We wanna help and support it as we enjoy it, right? But the citizens of Hawaii have to come first. And I'm just thrilled that there's any government in America that's looking out for its own citizens. So here they are saying, we're gonna prioritize you guys over everyone else. That should be normal, not like a wild exception that makes us do this story. So thank you to the legislators in Hawaii for standing up for your own citizens in that state and in that area.
Yeah, and look, the people who lost their homes in Lahaina should be made whole. There should be an orchestrated effort by federal government and state government in order to rebuild these homes and make these people whole, right? Don't just sit around and wait to see if they get any reimbursement from their insurance companies, which I guarantee you isn't gonna be enough to rebuild. And I hate seeing these stories, whether we're talking about Lahaina or whether we're talking about what happened to Floridians in Fort Myers who were struck by that terrible hurricane a few years ago. You have, corporations coming in and essentially taking advantage of that tragedy to build properties on the land that has now been left by the people who used to live there because they can't afford it. They can't afford to rebuild. So I can't stand these people who take advantage of these tragedies to basically come up financially on their own or for themselves. But let's talk a little bit about what lawmakers are trying to do. So Hawaii lawmakers are trying to phase out short-term rentals altogether. There are two companion bills. One is House Bill 1838, and then there's Senate Bill 2919. These bills would give counties new authority to change residential zoning. And I do think zoning laws do need to change, not just in Hawaii, but across the country in order to make way for the construction of desperately needed housing. Now, State Representative Luke Evslin, the chair of the House Committee on Housing, said that the legislation would give local governments opportunities to define the neighborhoods where tourists could rent short-term units and ideally free up more homes for locals seeking long-term rentals. He said it won't solve the state's growing housing crisis, but he thinks it's a first step to stem the bleeding. Now, both bills have been voted out of their respective chambers and are moving into conference committee. The final vote on this will occur on May 3rd. And if the measure passes, it would be left up to county leaders to look into phasing out short-term rentals in their counties and in what capacity. But legally, any phase out would have to occur over a reasonable amount of time, likely within years. The bills already have the full support of the governor. He says he's going to sign them. One final thing that I'll note, the declarations ban increases on rent or the price of essential commodities, allows for the construction of new homeless dwelling units, and accelerates the permitting and construction process. This part's really important for new housing developments, including affordable housing. Jake.
Yeah, last thing is, guys, you need equilibrium and balance, otherwise no one wins. So I was in Jackson Hole a couple of years ago, and that's a place in Wyoming that is now turned into just for the rich. And that's so true that there's no affordable housing for any of the people that work at the hotels, the restaurants, etc. left. So almost all the restaurants were closed. There was only a couple of restaurants that were open. McDonald's had a drive-through that lasted about an hour because nobody could eat anywhere. Even at the hotels, the restaurants were only open half the time because they literally can't get anybody to work there. They'd have to drive for hours and hours to get there from a place that's affordable in the middle of Wyoming, okay? And then we went rafting and we asked those folks there, hey, how are you guys living here? They said, oh, we all live out of our cars in the parking lots.
That's insane.
Okay, so then I was like, okay, I'm never coming to Jackson Hole again, right? And besides which, it's a giant pain in the ass, so less people come. And then your property values go down anyway. Your precious property values, everything else goes down anyway, right? So you have to get to an equilibrium where you could have everybody, hey, Hawaii's beautiful. Yes, we all want to go, it's great. And they're gonna get tourism money out of it. Wonderful, that helps create jobs. But people there have to be able to live there.
Yes.
Okay, so you've got to find the right answer. And so what happens? Nothing's without cost. When you have less short-term rentals and Airbnbs, etc., whatever laws they pass, more people will have to stay in hotels, and then the hotel prices will go up. Okay, that's the price we have to pay to make sure that the locals can actually live in Hawaii. And as troubling as that might be to people who say, oh, well, now I can't afford it. I hear you, brothers and sisters, but we've got to be decent and humane to our own citizens.
It's just desperately. I mean, I feel like every main domestic issue we've talked about today goes back to the necessary the need of building housing. Like, we need a lot of it, and we need it now. Like, stop. And the thing that's so frustrating, Cenk, is when I look at what has been done on a local level here in Los Angeles, we've spent the money. We've spent so much money over the last 5 years, $24 billion unaccounted for in the state of California based on that audit that was recently done. Okay, where did the money go? They obviously didn't use it to build housing, and whatever housing was built was inflated in cost by the developers that were contracted to build the very little housing that was actually constructed in Los Angeles in particular. Okay, so as Americans, we provide the resources, but then we have to trust the local lawmakers to do the right thing with the resources. And do they do the right thing with the resources, Cenk?
Not in my experience. I mean, look, I know it's a skewed sample set, but in West LA, the only thing I've seen is the highest end houses that are built, the highest end apartments, incredibly fancy apartments that are being built. Where's the affordable housing?
I mean, look,
this thing's a joke.
If that increases the stock of housing, the idea is there's more inventory, and people who are doing better for themselves will, rent the luxury units. And I haven't seen that play out locally yet, but we'll see.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.